Good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm not able to do this live, but I just wanted to share some important, beautiful words with you. Bezras Hashem. So the Torah in this week's parsha, we know it's this watershed bracha of that Yaakov gives to his grandchildren, to Ephraim and Manasseh. And the Torah tells us that even after Yosef argues with his father and he says, he put it the wrong way. His father says to him, "No, I know. Vayevarachem bayom hahu lemor, v'cha yevarech Yisrael lemor." This is the way you will bless Bnei Israel. Yesimcha lehin k'Ephraim u'Manasseh. May Hashem make you like Ephraim, Manasseh, and like Manasseh. V'yasem et Ephraim lifnei Manasseh. He puts Ephraim before Manasseh. And what I wanted to share with you was this beautiful netziv. So the netziv says, when it says, Yisrael, it says, Lo v'lo amar b'nei Yisrael. When he says Yevarech Yisrael, it doesn't say B'nai Yisrael. B'nai Yisrael would imply the entire nation. While Yisrael refers to Anshe Maila. This talks to specific people on a higher level. It says this is how you got to bless those people who are growing, who are moving, or trying to achieve great things. We're talking about the people that are appropriate to bless the Jewish people, the people that are growing, the people who are on a high level. Those are the people. In this way, you, Israel, will bless. So he changes it a little bit. It's not that this is how Israel will receive the bracha, but this is how Israel who will be blessing them. And what will you say? You will say, Yesimcha Elohim k'Ephraim u'Manasseh, a person of a high level, a person who is growing, a person who is committed to a deep connection with the Ribono Shel Olam will understand that the bracha must be k'Ephraim u'Manasseh. The Netziv points out, Haya od zera brucha Hashem b'nechta Yaakov. Says there are lots of, we know that Yaakov had lots of other grandchildren as well. There was Peretz, Zerach, all the ones that are mentioned in the parsha last week. That we know them. But with Ephraim and Manasseh was something special. Why dafka these two grandchildren? Because each one of these had something special that made them different from their friend. Ephraim was a gadol b'Torah, was great in Torah, and he was connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the most deepest way. Manasseh ba'alichas olam. Manasseh was different because Manasseh was involved in the politics. He was involved in the court of Paro together with his father Yosef, and so he was a man who was involved in those worlds. He was involved in what? Tzarchei Ha'am, involved in the tzarchei tzibur, the needs of the community. And so you have on the one side, you have the person who's totally involved and engrossed in the learning. The other one is totally involved and engrossed in the needs of the community. But Yaakov teaches us a lesson. He put Ephraim before Manasseh. The Torah teaches us that. It doesn't just say it. It's obvious that that's what happened. So he says, the Torah has come to teach us something more about Yaakov Avinu. So obviously we know from a spiritual point of view, Ephraim comes first. That's why he becomes first when they're traveling in the desert. It always speaks about Ephraim first, and the Chanukah is back. It's always Ephraim first. When it comes to the natural course of events, Manasseh is going to come from, and therefore in Parashat Pinchas, when they're going to Eretz Yisrael, you find that Manasseh comes first before Ephraim. Who's the one that's supposed to come first? We know that there are different times that they mentioned one first before the other, but how do we know who's supposed to come first? You might have thought that Derech Eretz Kadma Torah, like we understand that Zvulun comes before Yisachar. So maybe we should make Manasseh come first before Ephraim. That's what the Torah has come to teach us. Yaakov Sam et Zachar Ephraim Lifnei Zichron Menashe. That Yaakov, our great father, the founder of us as the people that we are, he's the one who puts Ephraim before Menashe. To teach us that we have to put kavod Torah, the honor and the respect for true Torah, before Gedulas Hanhaga, before the greatness of those people who are involved in tzarchei tzibur and those type of things. It says, and that's part of kavod Torah and the great greatness of the Jewish persona. You can't compare it to Zvulun and Yisachar, because that should be the absolute comparison. Zvulun is the one who goes to work and pays for the Torah of Yisachar. The difference is that Zvulun is the goyrem, is the cause, the allowance, the empowerer of the learning of Yisachar. And that's is what makes it different, because if without Zvulun, you wouldn't have a Yisachar. But here it's different. You've got an Ephraim, you've got a Menashe, you've got a person who's learning, you've got a person who's involved in Tzorchet Tzibur, and we need to understand, says Yaakov Avinu, and says the Netziv explaining that we have to make sure that the Kavod Torah is the greatest kavod that we make in our lives, because that's the thing that's going to sustain the Jewish people through all generations. And if we can understand that, and we are able to work with that, then it makes our understanding of Torah on a completely different level. The Herch of Davar says, which is also the Netziv on a deeper level of explanation. He says, that according to there is an opinion that we should say that at the time of Brit Milah, you should give this bracha to the child. Says, we know that when you give a person a bracha, you must give him that which is part of his being. So if a person is involved in business, you give him a bracha that his business should succeed. If a person is involved in a startup, you give that his startup should succeed. But if a person is involved in a startup, you can't say to him, that you should continue to make millions. He hasn't made his million yet. He's just started his startup. So the bracha has to be specific on to increase the bracha of what he already has received. And if that's the case, like for example, you should give a bracha to the Ashir ba'oshra, Chacham b'chachma, the wealthy person in their wealth, and the Chacham in their wisdom. He says, therefore, if that's the case, so then if you've got a child who isn't learning Torah, how can you tell him to be like Ephraim? And a person who's not working in the Torah Tzibur, how can you tell him to be like Menashe? Says the Netziv, no. B'shas milah delo noida adayin es haderech. He says, because at the time of the bris milah, when you don't know which route the person is going to take, as Yevarech Yisrael, Yesimcha, then the person, that high-level person, will give the child a bracha that he should be what? Ke'Ephraim, im yeh oisek b'Torah yatzlech. If it's going to be a person who's dealing with Torah, he should be successful. And he should be like Menashe. If a person is involved in the Tzorchet Tzibur, in the worldly matters, then he should be successful like Menashe. Have a beautiful day. Please God, we'll continue to learn tomorrow. And an easy fast. Okay, let's rock on.